You know, there's an old expression that goes, no good deed goes unpunished. It's kind of a strange, illogical statement. No good deed goes unpunished. And what it means is that it's some part of human nature that sometimes you try to do something nice for no other reason than just to try to be nice to someone, and it blows up. You sort of feel like you got punished for this. Instead of going the other way, instead of them being grateful and loyal, they go completely the opposite direction. It happens sometimes. I remember during the Cold War we were giving foreign aid to Finland, and later we discovered that they were selling our technology to the Russians. It was like, these guys? The ones we gave the money to? They were selling our tech. See what I mean? No good deed goes unpunished. So I'm sure we've all had this experience where you try very hard to be helpful and the person is not only not grateful, they're actually angry with you for some reason. But the reason I bring it up is because I've discovered something in human relationships, in committed relationships, which is that love, and I didn't make this up, I've read this before, but I believe it's true. Love never requires sacrifice. Well, wait a minute. No, if you love somebody, you sacrifice for them. No, not true. Love never requires sacrifice. You may do things for this person that you would not ordinarily do if you weren't in a relationship with them. But it doesn't have to be a sacrifice. And the expression of love does not require that you sacrifice. And maybe I have a little different definition by sacrifice. Sacrifice is when you're doing something you don't want to do. You're saying okay to something that isn't okay. You're saying fine, but it's not fine. You say whatever, but it isn't whatever. Then that is what I call a sacrifice. And if you're in a loving relationship, you don't need to do that. It doesn't require you to do that. Now, it's true, the opposite end of that would just be selfish, ultimate selfishness. I'm not doing anything for anybody. But that isn't even human nature. When you're in a relationship with people, you probably want to do things for them because you just like how that feels. And it's fun to make somebody else happy. But the reason I bring this thing about sacrifice is because I have a little corollary to no good deed goes unpunished. And that is, no good deed goes unpunished twice when you sacrifice. If you're in a relationship and you do something that you don't want to do, and it's obviously a sacrifice, but you feel like you should do it, or you have to do it, or you must do it, or you ought to do it, or they did it for you, or you owe them, or whatever. But if it's not what you want to do, you will extract two punishments from that action. Let me give you an example. A guy says to his wife, honey, I've got this office party coming up. I really want you to come with me to the office party. She said, oh, please don't make me go to them. I went to this other office party. It was so boring. I didn't know anybody there. That was like the longest night I ever spent. Please, couldn't you just go without me? And he says, no, that's no good. I mean, everybody will ask where you were, and it'll be just like you'll be conspicuous by your absence. Come on, everybody else's spouse is going to be there. I really think you should come to this. Well, I don't want, I've told you, I hate these things. So he says, I went to your high school reunion, and I didn't want to go to that either. And I went there. And she thinks a minute, and she says, oh, you did, that's true. All right. Okay, I'll go. I'm telling you, right there, that was a sacrifice. She said yes, because he kind of showed her that quid pro quo, he went to something of hers, and so she had to come to something of his, but she didn't want to go. And watch where the punishment shows up. So they get to the party. She looks at the buffet table and she says to him, I can't eat one thing on this buffet. He says, what? He says, no, I can't eat this. I'm allergic to that. Fine, and I can't stand that. I don't like this, and I don't eat meat, and blah, blah, blah. Fine, I'll have bread. There's the punishment right there. He's punished. He's got a person who's at this party with him who doesn't want to be there, who now can't eat anything, who's hungry, and will probably saying, can we leave now? Can we leave now? But she got punished too, because she's now at a party where she can't eat anything. and she's not happy and she's not having a good time. There's two punishments here. It turns out when you sacrifice, you punish yourself for acting outside of your own integrity, and you punish the person for whom you sacrificed. It's a big deal. It's relationship killer 101. You start doing what you don't want to do, say yes to things that aren't okay with you, that comes back to haunt you, and it haunts them too. And so one of the things that I recommend for couples is that you cut sacrifice out of your life entirely. If the person doesn't want to do it, don't make them do it. Now, if they want to do it, if they want to please you, great. But if they really don't want to do it, and you push the issue, there will be repercussions. You will get punished for that, and they will get punished for that. And I've got tons and tons of other examples of it, and you'll see it in your life. How do you know if something is a sacrifice or not? Well, was there any punishment? If there was no punishment, then I look back and I say, well, I guess it wasn't a sacrifice. And you can change your mind. Somebody says, will you do this? And if I don't want to, say, please. You're like, okay, I'll do it. And you shift it in your head. All of a sudden it shifted from sacrifice to not sacrifice. Sometimes my wife would say to me, would you do such and such a thing? And I would say to her, not without sacrificing. And she's so used to this now, she was like, forget it. Okay, we don't have to do it. And then all of a sudden I felt like, I'll do it. No, it's okay, I'll do it. You sure? Yeah, I'll do it. So I shifted it in my head. Like all of a sudden I didn't want to, but I didn't have to, so I did. So maybe I decided it would be okay to do it. Then there's no punishment. And sometimes doing something somebody wants to a certain level is okay, but going a little bit beyond that is a sacrifice. Lauren once said to me, listen, after we go out to dinner, I need to shop for a new dress. Could you come to a couple stores with me at the mall? And I was like, terrible sacrifice. Don't want to do it. I will punish you and punish myself. I'm positive of it. She says, is there some way that you could do it that it wouldn't be a sacrifice? I was like, I said, I'll tell you what. If we could stop at a bookstore and I could buy a book that I like and I could read the book while you try on the dresses, that would be cool. That would be okay. She said, you sure? I said, yeah. So that's what we did. We stopped at CVS. I picked up some novel. And we went around and she started shopping for dresses. So I'm just sitting there, reading, and I would look up everyone. That's nice. But I'm having a good time. I'm really kind of into this book. It's no sacrifice at all. So then she says, I know we've been to 3 stores, but could we go to this other mall? I went, right there. That's a sacrifice. And she said, okay, forget it. Okay, I'll go with my mother. That's all right. But I really appreciate you for going with me to this many stores. So there are ways you can work this thing. You can compromise. You can come up with plays. But the thing to keep your eye on is don't violate your own integrity. Don't say yes. And here's something else. Since you're going to get punished either way, whether they sacrifice or you sacrifice, don't let anybody sacrifice for you. Don't let somebody make a meal for you that they don't want to make. You won't like that meal. And they won't like making it. So it's not just making sure that you don't do anything you don't want to do. It's don't allow people. I suggest things to people all the time, and I just say, if that works for you. Like, well, okay. No, don't do it if it doesn't work for you. I'm very much on the lookout for not having people sacrifice on my behalf. I will be punished for that. If I force someone to keep an appointment and they don't want to keep it, they might keep the appointment, but then they'll never keep another one with me. They'll never want to make another appointment with me. So whatever this is, you have to leave volition in the game. They have to have that feeling of choice. This is part of what it means to be human, is to really get to choose freely. And to the extent that you do that, you'll eradicate sacrifice and save yourself a raft of punishment. And it's really wonderful because you get to trust that if the person is doing something for you, you know they want to. They wouldn't do it if they didn't want to. You've already agreed not to sacrifice. So that's what I ask couples to do all the time. Don't sacrifice. And agree that if you identify sacrifice at any point in the interaction, let it go. Okay, you don't have to do it. I don't want you to do it if it's a sacrifice. Partly because I don't want you to be punished, and I don't want to be punished myself. And that's how it works. But it's a big deal. I have no sacrifice in my relationship with my wife. None. When she makes dinner for me, it's only because she loves me. She doesn't even like to cook that much, but she's a very good cook, and I love everything she makes. But she's very, very clear that she does not have to make dinner or buy special food for me or anything. She doesn't owe me that. But you know what? Partly because she doesn't have to. She goes to 3 different stores to find the food that I like, and she makes it for me, totally out of love, and I can taste it in the food. And vice versa. I do many, many things for her that I would never do otherwise. But it's not a sacrifice, because I have the freedom to do that, and I choose to do it because I love her.